Hola, I'm John. I was messing around with Next yesterday, and I figured, yeah, I'll just show you what I was able to come up with. I tried doing it in TypeScript, which had some positives and some negatives. Um, and yeah, I figured I'll just walk you through what I was able to accomplish. So this is the app. I called it Next and Morty. Very clever here. Ha ha ha. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, all I did was I fetched some characters from the Rick and Morty page. Styling was actually a joy in Next. I thought it was fantastic. The reason why is they've got these. Let's see if I can pull up that code. They've got these scoped styling kind of built in, so you can go to like styles, and then now this is the styling for a character card. And the thing that I realized is, like, first of all, I know this is not kebab cased, but kebab cased actually won't work, because the way that you can do this is, and that it automatically works, is like, let's say I go to my character card, it pulls off from this styles. It basically you can pull off like that class name, so that's why it can't be kebab cased. Or if you did, maybe you'd have to index it with like a matrix. Where do I have it though? Styles. Oh, right there. Cool. Yeah. So for example, that styles.character card is coming from this character card class. That actually I found was a very nice way to work. And I think it would be very useful if you like made some sort of component library. So I'm a fan. I liked that. Another thing that I liked is it was pretty easy to jump into. So all this stuff, like, so for example, the ability to filter characters, whoops, Rick, bam, cool. Now I got all the Ricks, or like Morty. That's all just React. So this is something I found interesting. Is kind of like the opinion on how Next forces you to write state. It's interesting. State will basically start off on the page that you're on, and it seems like, I'm not 100% sure on this, and I know that there's ways to get around doing it to where you can pass state from, let's say I'm in home, and then I go to, this is hard coded to go to post one, because I was kind of mainly just messing around with it. But I think that the thing that I find interesting here is that, the thing that I found interesting is that the state does not really carry from here to here if you're opening it through the link. Now, I know I was reading the Next docs, and I know that there's a way to, like, I don't remember what they call it, but you basically push like the route onto your history, and then I think it does maintain your like app state, but I'm not 100% sure. Something I definitely look forward to messing around with in the future. The other thing that I noticed is, and this is kind of, I guess, so those characters are not being fetched the Reacty way, they're being fetched the Next way, because I really wanted to kind of explore the like whole get initial props thing. So when I click here, I noticed that it doesn't load until it's completely ready, and then when it loads, everything's there. And one of the things that I found interesting by that, which I find I did not know, is that I guess part of like maybe one of the benefits here is, like, let's say I favorite a couple of these, and then I refresh it. Uh-oh. I guess characters were not fetched for some reason. Well, what was happening before, I don't know, they guess some bug with, I used like a little JSON server, so there's probably some bugs with it, because there's no like validations or anything like that. But yeah, baby. Okay, let's just ignore that name. So I think what's interesting about it is that it stays scrolled to the same spot, which for me is great, actually. And like all those stuff I've done in React, when I would refresh it, it refetches everything on the page. So I don't think you can even do that, which is interesting. So like, talking about the TypeScript stuff, let's first talk about some of the benefits. So one of the benefits that I got from TypeScript is like, and this is really what I love about TypeScript, is like, I don't know, for example, let's go to some of my fetch calls, right? Like I have, my brain is a little fried this morning. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go to, like, I don't know, here's all my fetches associated with my characters, right? Well, if I have like these get initial characters, I have query params, and I define that as a string. one of the things that's cool about this to me, I could also make this a type of query params, actually, now that I think about it. But one of the things that I really like about this is now it's like, oh, okay, this function that I created, which allows me to get characters, but also to pass in some query params. Anywhere that I call this, let's just create like a random file, right? Say I say get initial characters. What was it? Get initial characters. Am I exporting it? Let's see. I don't know. I guess it didn't want to load. Let's see. Usually, okay, there it goes. All right. So now when I do this, it's going to tell me what I can pass in. So for example, it's telling me I can pass in query params as a string, which is nice because now like anywhere else in my code that I'm going to call on this, I know exactly what goes in there. Another like other things that you could do is like for any action that you take, you specify the inputs for those. So for example, maybe I forgot what like the shape of a favorite looks like. Like, so for example, in another app that I'm working on, a favorite kind of looks like something like this. I don't know, maybe my app is for date ideas. So maybe it has a date idea ID. By the way, this would be like a prime example where it's like, I don't remember if the backend takes in date idea ID or date idea, whatever. But the nice thing is if you have this like clearly defined, then anywhere else in your code that you want to use it, you know exactly. Here, actually, you would say this is of type number, and then maybe you say ID is of type number or something like that. So anywhere I make a function that processes a favorite, you know, function process favorite, and then maybe it just returns the favorite. You could be like, oh, returns favorite, oh, whoops, favorite, and it takes in like favorite, return favorite, or whatever you wanted to do there. Whoops, return input. Well, now if you use this anywhere else in your code, which something I learned by like making a huge project is that the ability to not have to like go to another file makes your brain work so much better when you're talking about a large project. But like now, if I were to go anywhere else in my code, I know exactly what goes in here just by using my dev tools, which is phenomenal. The downside to something like TypeScript though, I'll show you exactly where the problem is. So I'll go like here, bam. I could not get the typing here to work out. So it turns out that like, basically what I'm trying to do here is go to let's see. I was trying to go to a show character page where it takes in the ID. And from what I could tell, I set all this stuff up right. But you have to use a combination of two things. You have to use get initial props and get initial state path or something like that. And what I found was that the documentation was not very clear on how to do this with TypeScript. So as a result, there's like a growing pain associated with learning TypeScript. And that's my general experience that I found is that like a lot of times it's pretty tough to figure out how to do something the first time with TypeScript. But then the benefits that you gain is as the project gets a lot larger, it becomes a lot less scary to manage what's going on because you get all these warnings if you change something and it's messed up. And it also becomes clearer on what you have to do to fix it. But yeah, so anyways, that was my little day of exploring Next. It's a technology I'd really like to get a lot better at. I'm going to keep trying to stick with TypeScript because I have a hunch like stuff like that. It's just like, well, if I did it another 20 times, it would not be any more difficult. And then I would get the extra security on the app. But yeah, that was my little Next.js exploration day fun time.